Hey everyone, welcome back to this Sapling Edition of Evergreen Perspective. Right now I'm here with Henry Marion, Charter Review candidate, as we continue our series. He's running in District 3 in Position 3. And Henry, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, and then just throw in how long you've been in Clark County?
Absolutely. So I moved here in 2018. I've been working for a local union, family-owned HVAC sheet metal firm, and prior to that, I actually have a legal background. I've never practiced law. My professional experience has been in the construction management sphere.
Right, so when you say you have a legal background, I think you have a law degree, is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, I'm licensed to practice lawyer in good standing in the state of Florida.
And having a law degree, how do you feel like that may enable you to, how would you bring that into the county charter review?
Yeah, great question. So, I the one thing about the Charter Review Commission, it's a panel of ordinary citizens from a variety of backgrounds. At least that's the idea in theory. So you certainly wouldn't want 15 lawyers sitting on the thing. Um, I agree that wouldn't be good. As far as I know, there's only one other candidate in another race across the county that has a legal background. It's already um, been useful in my experience, particularly in determining the limits of what's called the preemption doctrine. So Washington has an interesting kind of muddled case law around what is and isn't proper for charter review commissions, county governments to tackle. So if you hear candidates talking about, budgetary matters, fiscal matters that they want to introduce into the county charter via amendment, should just be aware that a lot of the times, some of the things they're proposing, policy issues and such, aren't going to be permissible to be enacted into law, even if they were passed by voters. It is more than likely that we'll just end up in litigation for some of that stuff. So if somebody's promising you a chicken in every pot, go ahead and feel free to ask them how they plan to do that when it's not permitted by state law.
Right, I think that's a good point, is that candidates need to understand that it's not a policy position, it's a procedural document. And what was it that made you want to get involved with, this particular position and this type of public service?
Well, I've always had an interest in structural reform of government. I'm a big fan of the ballot initiative of direct democracy, the progressive era reforms that the home rule charter here in Clark County represents. It's something that is still relatively new. We've only had one charter review commission back in 2020 so far. This will be the second one. They did a lot of good work the last time. I'm not looking to upset the apple cart, but there are a few issues that I do think we should take a look at. In addition to some of the issues that other candidates have been discussing, I do believe it's time for Clark County to join most of the rest of the state of Washington in reforming our Board of Health. That's something that has to be done by charter amendment. Currently, our Board of Health is exactly the same as our county council, and it's a 100% elected board. It is not required to follow the recommendations of public health administrators, medical experts. They do have the ability at some future county council. I don't think that our current county council is anti-science in any way, but
Sure.
it
Well,
is
how
possible.
yeah, with that board, who throughout the state, who sets on these boards if not the county councilors?
So under the state law I'm referencing, and there's more information about this on my website. If anyone wants to read the statute in question, I believe off memory it's RCW 70.05.035. We are currently in the grandfather clause under subsection 2. So are a handful of counties that still have an elected board, but are charter counties, and so the Board of Health organizational structure, which is an administrative issue that charters deal with, that is currently we are currently standing outside of the public health best practice standards that they have in the rest of the state. So it's just kind of a quirk of the law, something that needs to be corrected, and the county council hasn't acted on it yet because it is going to be a heavy lift, kind of a complicated undertaking to come up with a proposal that meets the requirements of the law, but there's still a lot of flexibility within that law. So it'll be something that we need a lot of community input on, something that we'll have to talk with all of the various stakeholders in our public health infrastructure about. And I'm ready to get to work with your support.
There you go. I think you bring up some good points there. And when we're talking about public health, it's probably should be some folks that have some medical background and public health experience, perhaps, to head up that.
Yes, it is still, sorry to interrupt, but I forgot to mention that, there's still a requirement that elected officials be on the board. So it wouldn't be like people don't have a say in how the Board of Health would operate. So I meant to add that.
No, perfect. Thanks for adding that in, so clarify for folks. What is it? I know we've talked about the Board of Health seems to be an area of focus for you. What other area or areas of the charter are you specifically looking at that you think might need extra review, or something maybe that you're looking to tackle personally?
Well, there's going to be another discussion regarding redistricting and how we draw the lines for our county council. Now's the time to address it. The Charter Review Commission, this is the one that will sit before the next census, before the next redistricting. So if there are further refinements we need to make to our recently enacted redistricting reforms, they addressed a lot of the problems that we had the last time. The county redistricting process was a real mess. There were a number of county councilors who they weren't called counselors, I believe, at that time, but they wanted to determine where they ran for reelection, and they had the lines drawn to incorporate their own residences. It ended up in litigation. We have a nonpartisan redistricting process, which was also in effect at the time, but it had a lot of problems. The county council passed put an amendment before the voters, and we passed it to clean it up. But there are still some issues with it, and minor procedural tweaks mostly. But we want to ensure that we don't have to litigate this again next time, and that we have a system where the voters choose the people who represent them and not the other way around.
Sure. So with that in mind, what is your approach to, civic engagement and transparency?
Yeah. I'm a big fan of community input. One thing that was a little unusual with the Charter Review Commission the last time, the candidates didn't really have the opportunity to run a traditional campaign. So it was during the pandemic. It was a lot of Zoom, yard signs, that kind of thing. But there wasn't a great deal of public input during the campaign or during the course of the commission as a result of the pandemic. So one thing I'd like to do this time, and I've been trying to do like during the course of my campaign, is get out and talk to people, get around the community. I also think it's important to say that even though I would be running to represent District 3, East Vancouver, I do think that it's important to consider the impact of all citizens of Clark County with any amendment that we propose. So I'm all for community forums, like some people have proposed. Also, looking to do something like that for our county council, similar to how the Vancouver City Council operates. I live really close to Furstenberg Senior Center, and I went to a city council meeting 6 months ago or something that was right up the street from me. So that was really cool, and I'd like to see something like that done at the county level, and also wouldn't mind it for some of these sessions of the Charter Review Commission if it's possible to implement that.
Yeah, so for folks who may not know much about the charter, why should they care?
Well, like we've mentioned, it is not a policy forum. That's not its purpose. But what it does is it sets out in addition to providing the tools of direct democracy through initiative, mini initiative, and referendum. So it gives the power directly to the people if they don't like the actions or inactions of their county government. In addition to that, it kind of functions like our county constitution. It's the administrative governing document for how our county government functions and how it relates to the people and vice versa. So it sets the table for county government within which county government flourishes. So basically, it we've made a lot of progress in the quality of government here in Clark County, and that is a direct result of having this home rule charter. We have single member districts now. We've had redistricting reform. It's been an improvement. Obviously, nothing's perfect. We still have lots of improvements we can make in our community. But I do think that staying the course and holding the line, as it were, there are still those in our community who question whether or not like a charter form of government is the way to go, or they want to use the charter to undermine county government. I'm not here to break government. I'm here to make government more transparent, more accountable, and more responsive to our citizens.
Sure. And with that in mind, there's a lot of divisiveness right now in politics in general, and this is a nonpartisan position, but there seems to be a lot of partisan politics coming into play. And at the end of the day, when this commission's formed, there's 15 members in there. How do you deal with, contentious interactions with folks who may have some ideas that are counter to good governance?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, um, it's really important to keep an open mind. I know I've talked about some specific issues today, but there are a lot of other issues where I haven't necessarily taken a position. There's a lot of discussion around whether particular county executive offices, for instance, should be elected or appointed. I'm trying to keep an open mind about that stuff. I want to hear from the people, talk to people from other districts as well, and other commission members if I'm fortunate enough to serve. I do think it's important that even when we disagree, we do so in a civil manner. I've worked in the construction sphere. People from all walks of life, all political backgrounds, we all have to get together, and we all have our own the interests of our own companies to consider as well, and our own employees. But we all want a successful project, and so I've done 5 separate renovations here for Evergreen School District. A lot of HVAC rebuilds, and they usually have a lot of other stuff involved. I had one project with 14 separate subcontractors. Um, I'm used to it. So,
All right, I appreciate that. And so I guess as we kind of wrap up here, just give us the one thing you want voters to take away from this about you.
well, I, like a lot of people, don't pay attention to a lot of local politics in the past. I've always been very interested in national politics, but after last November, I became increasingly concerned about the state of our democracy, the health of our society, and I decided to get involved. And I hope if you take anything away from this, it would be whether you agree with me or not, get out there and vote. It's really important, and unfortunately, these local off-year elections tend to have lower turnout. I'd love to see that number go up.
Very well. And how can people learn more about your campaign?
Go to voteforhenrymarion.com. That's vote, the numeral 4, Henry, Henry, Marion, Marion.com.
Thank you so much for joining the program. I appreciate you a lot. Good luck out there, and I'll see you on the campaign trail.
Thanks, Ben. Have a good one.